Good afternoon, welcome back to Monza for this race 2 in the Ferrari Challenge race weekend for the CoppaShell category of cars that are making their way out onto the grid right now for their second race of this weekend. It's round 1 of the 2016 calendar, which, as you can see, we're here at Monza. It includes Mugello, Le Mans, Sochi, Hockenheim, Jerez in Spain, and then the glittering world final races in Daytona right at the beginning of December. Another 7-event race weekend for the Ferrari Challenge, and it's race weekend number 1, the traditional season opener here at Monza, where we are maybe 20-25 minutes away from central Milan in this wonderful national park here at Monza, which has this fantastic, historic Monza circuit as part of its infrastructure. Beautiful place. And beautiful cars, those 458s making their way out on track now for what is their second race around this 5.7 kilometer circuit, which features some 8 turns. It's one of the most historic circuits, and one of these most difficult circuits if you like to put an overtake on if the pace is very much similar across the grid, which across the 3 races that we've had already this weekend, across the Trofeo Pirelli and CoppaShell cars, has proven to be the case. Fans here to enjoy the race action this afternoon. 19 degrees Celsius, track temperature, look, 31 degrees. So there we can see the back end of the grid beginning to form. The 173 car there of Corinna Gosner, one member of the Gosner family. There are 3 on track in this race: Corinna, her sister Manuela, and also father Thomas Gosner, although he will not be taking his place on the track because of damage caused to his car yesterday. So actually only 2 of the 3 Gosners, but from the same team, the Ineco MP racing team, is this driver, Eric Prinot, who had a coming together with Thomas Gosner yesterday, and that took him out of the race, Dave King.
Absolutely, it did, and it's interesting that he was in P2 yesterday as well.
So let's see what he can do. He'll certainly be wanting to convert that P2 into something better than he got yesterday. Thomas Loflad, the German racer, had a fantastic time of it yesterday and took the race win. We've just seen him, and again, he's done all the brilliant work in qualifying today by putting it onto pole position. So let's show you a bit more about Monza right now. Little postcard from Monza. Car number 112 is driven by the Canadian racer for Kessel Racing. That's Rick Lovett, one of the gentleman racers, and you can see there Rick in final stages of preparation. Now, in that car is Renato D'Amato. His son Daniel is just outside of the car there. Daniel, former champion in the Ferrari Challenge, and Renato did a very, very good job yesterday as well. He will be hoping to emulate that. Finished P4 yesterday. Be looking to try and get it onto the podium today. Tommy Lindroth, who we didn't make much mention of yesterday because he was just keeping himself to himself and did very well in the race. And Tommy Lindroth finishing in P7. There he is. And alongside him there, you can see with the headphones on, that's Philippe Barron, who is Tommy Lindroth driving for the Barron service team, and therefore Philippe Barron doing a job there of providing last-minute advice to Tommy Lindroth. Von Skeltermar we can see there with his driver coach, Nicky Kadai. And, well, the buzzer warns that people should leave the grid now. And what a fine sight it is. It's 2 categories in Ferrari Challenge. Trofeo Pirelli, they've had their second race, and now it's the turn of CoppaShell, which is primarily for gentlemen and lady racers. And one of the gentlemen racers is Christian Kinch there, as you can see, from Gom Motorsport. really has upped his game as Christian Kinch. And there is Tanny Hanna, who was saying to us earlier in the paddock, Dave King, that he felt he'd got another 2 or 3 tenths in qualifying, but was trying to find a clear space on track. He struggled.
He did struggle, absolutely, and it really is up to these guys to give them some more, perhaps, idea of where they can nick that time.
It's down to the pit crew, isn't it, to put them out when they've got clear air, truthfully. Okay, this was the race that we've been talking about from yesterday. Holger Harmsen, you can see they're almost hugging the pit wall in the yellow car as they all headed towards that first chicane. Now, keep an eye on the left-hand side of the screen, and this is Thomas Gosner, who gets onto the grass. Once he's on the grass, he's a passenger. That causes damage to that Eric Prinot car that is taken out. Ironically, a teammate of his, Christian Kinch, went around as well, and you can see there the damage on the Thomas Gosner car, the smoke pouring off as the track control arm broken on that machine, and the Ineco MP team thinking, oh my goodness me, we've got a lot of work to do tonight.
Little did they know they've got some more to do.
Yes, there's more to come. As once again we see in replay there, and that was when Thomas Gosner realised that the car was going to go no further. Von Skeltermar and Muharat Kuhudaruglu together there as they went through the chicane, and once again, all eyes on the pit lane. We can see on the left-hand side there, that was another one of the Gosner cars that retired. That was the car of Corinna Gosner, but Von Skeltermar in car number 177 that was looking good. Rick Lovett also looking good. We're looking at the highlights from the race one. There was Tanny Hanna and Renato D'Amato as well. And Tanny Hanna and Renato were having a real fight of it. And in the end, it was going to be Renato that did just get the better of Tanny Hanna. Making hard work of it at times, though, trying to go the long way around there was never going to work. But Thomas Loflad was the man that converted his fantastic qualifying into race win. And there he is, taking the checkered flag. And, of course, today he goes from pole position as well. It was a great result for the Style F Squadra Corsa team. Good result for Kessel, seeing both Von Skeltermar and Rick Lovett up on the podium, P2 and P3 as well. Separate cup this year that's racing in the Ferrari Challenge is the Ladies' Cup, and there's Deborah Mayer, who is a rookie into the Ferrari Challenge, and rookie team as well as Scuderia Nicky. And Deborah Mayer had a great race yesterday, Dave King.
She ended up on the podium, didn't she? Which was fantastic for her first outing.
Absolutely. Now, there is Corinna Gosner. Best career result so far is 5th place. Race about to start then, and the reason I paused whilst we were looking at that shot of Corinna Gosner is because I think the graphics were wrong. I think it was Manuela. Just my opinion. I might be wrong. Thomas Loflad goes from pole position, and it's Eric Prinot alongside. Then we see Renato D'Amato and Rick Lovett occupying the second row of the grid. Perhaps it was Corinna. Perhaps I'm being unfair. Corinna Gosner then, we will see on the grid in just a moment as we scroll through who has qualified where. Von Skeltermar has put his car P5. Tommy Lindroth then for Baron Service goes from P6. Tanny Hanna be hoping to do good things from P7. And Christian Kinch, who got taken out yesterday, P8. Manuela Gosner has qualified P9, and Schiavone is P10, with Wayne Mars, the UK racer, going from P11, and Baccarelli from P12 for the CDP team. Racers.ferrari.com is the website where you can find out all the information that you would like to know about the Ferrari Challenge, and we would urge you to do that. P13 will go the way of Eric Chung, the motor service driver, with Holger Harmsen, the German, alongside for Lueg Sportivo. Then we see from motor service Kriton Lendudis, and beyond Kriton Lendudis is Daniel Quenti, and then it is Deborah Mayer and Heggie, and then Kondakov, and then Corinna Gosner that we were looking at just a few moments ago, with bringing up the rear there, Kuhadaruglu in P21. Safety car has been released. Cars being released now. It's a rolling lap always for the Ferrari Challenge cars, and cars now will be urging some temperature into the tyres and brakes, Dave King.
Absolutely right. So this is where they're all trying to get the not only some heat in those tyres, but also the brakes as well, because that's one of the most important and critical parts when they line up for this first chicane.
Absolutely, and of course they reach that chicane at a fair rate of knots, don't they? So you've got what is going to be a 21-car grid, all trying to make their way through the very chicane that we're looking at now. Each of them, every one of them, urging themselves and being determined to be as far up the order as they possibly can.
And looking at the times from P1 to P12,
yes,
less than a second.
Okay, interesting.
So they're all going to be heading towards that chicane all at the same time.
Yes, qualifying very, very tight this morning. So we're on board with Rick Lovett, looking forward now. The CoppaShell Racing driver. Now, any driver that's over 55 qualifies to race for the Gentleman's Cup as well. And Rick Lovett is one of those competitors. Of course, always of most importance to everyone that's out there is the race result overall. But nonetheless, there is silverware up for grabs for gentleman racers too, including Eric Prinot, the Ineco MP racing driver who had a DNF yesterday, which is not what he wanted. He was one of the front runners in the championship last year. Ended up not winning the championship, which many people would have put money on that happening, but it didn't. So he'll be hoping to right those wrongs this season, although it didn't get off to an auspicious start because he ended up out and taken out by one of his teammates. Beppe Scaletti is the driver of our Hublot safety car. He awaits to pick up the crocodile of cars heading towards him now. They'll all grid up, and then it will be the completion of the rolling lap. They're all heading into what is going to be the final turn, which is the Curva Parabolica, turn number 8 here. And they'll all get into grid order. And, well, they're a long way from that at the moment because they're just going through the Variante Ascari turn.
What's the advantage of having a rolling start over a grid start?
There are people that will say there are advantages and disadvantages to both. I think for cars like this and drivers like this, a rolling start is better than a clutch start, truthfully. And you've seen how well disciplined they've been. And that hasn't always been the case, I have to say. But the grids have been absolutely spot on and perfect, and the formations have been bang on as well. So, yeah, I think particularly of late, the rolling starts in the Ferrari Challenge have been very, very well disciplined, and credit to all the drivers for making sure that they are. Because, of course, it is the drivers that are in the cars. The race steward, of course, only when he's happy with the way the cars are lined up will he release them and let them go. And we've known for the rolling start not to be the start of the race, and they've had to do another lap and come around again, but it's not happened for a jolly long while. And there you can see, look, absolute perfection. They're all exactly where they should be. So the safety car peels off into the pit lane. It's over to the control of the race steward now. And we'll throw the lights to the top of the screen for you as if by magic. There they appear. It's Thomas Loflad and Eric Prinot. And keep an eye on Fons Skeltermar. He looks lively as well. And the foot goes down, the light goes green, and we are away and racing. So D'Amato just takes a look up the inside of Thomas Loflad. He's now on the inside of Eric Prinot. Prinot being mugged just a little bit there by a brilliant start from Thomas Loflad. And we could see Prinot going backwards here. He brakes much, much harder than D'Amato. Is he able to make the chicane? Yes, he is. Thomas Loflad, Eric Prinot, D'Amato are through. Rick Lovett making a great move as well. Are we going to get all the cars through without any skirmish whatsoever? I think we are. Absolutely brilliant driving from the CoppaShell drivers here in the Ferrari Challenge. That was textbook stuff, wasn't it? With no damage at all. There's Eric Chung in the all-red machine. And Holger Harmsen right behind him. Heavy braking now from Thomas Loflad. And what Eric Prinot is going to have to do is just keep on terms with him. That's Tanny Hanna on the inside of Tommy Lindroth. And Tanny Hanna moves up a place. Christian Kinch going to try and take advantage of that as well, because he's right alongside his Swedish colleague as well, Tommy Lindroth, but was not able to go through. So Tanny Hanna is the one that's made good there. And presumably, as he said to us earlier, that he's got the pace in the car. And that seems to be the case now as Christian Kinch just lines up Tommy Lindroth once again. There's the opening lap of the CoppaShell Ferrari Challenge race. And look how Christian Kinch is all over the back of the Tommy Lindroth car. So they're all going through the very anti-Ascari chicane right now. There's Rick Lovett, there's von Skelterma, and Tanny Hanna behind von Skelterma, running in P6 at the moment is Tanny Hanna. But leading the race is Thomas Loflad, and Eric Prinot is sticking with him, and so is Renato D'Amato and Rick Lovett as well. Looks like Holger Armsen is losing out on a place here. But Thomas Loflad going to cross the line. The time gap between Loflad and Eric Prinot is going to be, well, negligible. It's 3/10, Dave King, as they head for the chicane. Second time of asking.
So they're all very evenly matched, really, here, aren't they? And there's not an awful lot of room from the start to the finish.
Oh, Thomas Loflad made a mistake. Is Eric Prinot going to be able to take advantage of that? He's got to run alongside him. It's a long way around the Curva Grande for Eric Prinot, but he's going to have the... He's going to have the pace, and is D'Amato going to be able to take advantage as well? Loflad has been able to save that and bring that back, but now Eric Prinot is going to have the inside line for the next turn. If he can keep his nose in front, no, he can't. Loflad got the power down, and that was a good save from Thomas Loflad, Dave.
Absolutely. That important race line is so critical, isn't it, on the exit of the last corner to the next one.
Well, often drivers will tell you that they set up their overtaking moves maybe one, maybe two corners ahead of the corner where they're gonna try and make the overtake stick. And well, Thomas Loflad made an error through that chicane. He'd got Eric Prinot right on him like a viper, but Prinot not quite able to make it stick. And well, credit to Thomas Loflad for being able to defend that, and defend it well he did. Look at the cars dip down under braking. And Prinot is really pushing him very, very hard indeed. Now here is the error, you see. Run over that sausage curb. And unfortunately, Prinot was not best placed to be able to take advantage of that. Credit to him for trying to.
That may well have done some serious damage underneath the car, wouldn't it?
I reckon that he will have bounced over that with no consequences. And the pace would suggest that there's no damage. So Loflad will thank his lucky stars for that, truthfully, as they cross the timing line once again. The gap was 4.48. It's down to 0.419, so Prinot is keeping with him here. And Thomas Loflad knows that. Again, the car very skittish at the front end under braking, and that's where Eric Prinot can get right on. He can outbrake him. But now it's trying to put the Prinot, the Ineco MP car, in the right place to take advantage, and there's no advantage to be taken because around that turn two, the Curva Grande, there, right in the middle of it, it's such a long way around the outside. It's never, ever going to work because Loflad's always going to have the momentum. Again, he's under heavy braking now as they go into the Della Roggia chicane. And there's just no way through there, is there? Eric Prinot is just going to have to sit pretty where he is at the moment. And Thomas Loflad now just beginning seemingly to eke out that gap a little bit more. And Prinot will be desperate, as I say, not scoring any points yesterday. He wants to be on the board for today. And actually, Eric is, you know, a long servant of the Ferrari Challenge. He knows that it's a long season and a long championship. And actually banking P2 rather than risking all for P1 sometimes at this stage in the season is probably sensible. There we watch in P3, it's Renato D'Amato, who had a great drive yesterday, finishing P4. If he can stay where he is now and advance that by one place so that he's up on the podium, he'd be well pleased with that. And once again, Rick Lovett and von Skelterma, the two CoppaShell drivers, are together, aren't they? P5 and P4.
They seem to be pulling out a little bit further now, apart from the mid-pack.
Best of the lady racers is Manuela Gosner in that number 183 car, being tagged by the UK racer Wayne Mars. So Tommy Lindroth and Tanny Hanna there. Tanny Hanna is running P6, Tommy Lindroth is P7. And just look how Tommy Lindroth has disposed, if you like, of the attacks from Christian Kinch, which came just a lap or two ago. And we have got one car off, and that's the car of Leonardo Baccarelli, the CDP racer, and also damage there for the 109 car that we were talking about, Leonardo Baccarelli. Also out is the 102 car of Claudio Schiavone. That has brought out the yellow flag at turn 2 for that little instant, which is through that chicane. So we'll see a replay of it, and thank you. Oh, we see again on the grass.
On the grass, you've got no control at all.
Absolutely none. And what that's done is that's really taken out Leonardo Baccarelli, who was an innocent party in that from that replay that we saw.
No fault of his own.
Well, it would appear so. The race continues, and Thomas Loflat is not actually being able to get away as much as he would like from Eric Prinot at the moment. So all the way back to P7, really, they're gapped, aren't they? In fact, at P8 and P9, truthfully, none of them quite close enough. But we're in the early stages of this race. We're on board with Rick Lovett, the Canadian racer. Now, Rick being conscious of the fact that the World Finals this year for the European Challenge, and indeed for the Asia Pacific and the North American Challenge, all going to Daytona. Rick Lovett has already competed at Daytona this year in the North American series of the Ferrari Challenge, just to get some track time in at Daytona, which is a sensible move for Rick Lovett, who runs for the CoppaShell racing team, the likeable Canadian, who is running in P4, and you can see the front end from the front end, the back end of the Renato D'Amato car as drivers on board as we go through that chicane, turns 2 and 3, that Variante del Rettifio chicane, and now absolutely flat all the way through Curva Grande, building up the speed. There's Loflat, there's Prinot, there's D'Amato, and then the car that we were on board with for a few moments, that of Rick Lovett. Well, the battle for first position isn't really a battle at the moment because they're all gapped, and therefore Loflat is breathing a sigh of relief, and Eric Prinot is the one that is having to do the chasing, and at the moment he's not really encroaching on Thomas Loflat, and furthermore Prinot is not being troubled too much by Renato D'Amato.
In fact, they're actually all very well spread out right across the track, aren't they? So the chances of anybody overtaking anything at the moment is quite low.
However, funnier things have happened. Trust. Right. And just as we say in that, you can see the P1 and P2 cars now beginning to just eke themselves out and be in a race of their own here, because Prinot is staying with him. And interestingly, Prinot was a 10th quicker last time around than Thomas Loflat. Loflat did a 1:54.515, whereas Prinot was a 1:54.446. So we'll keep our eye on the sector times as well. And well, through sector 3, Eric Prinot quickest of anyone. Loflat did a quick one as well, but it was only a PB. And now Rick Lovett's all over the back of Renato D'Amato. So the gap has come down now to 3.5 tenths between Loflat and Prinot. Still not enough. Around the Curva Grande they go once again. 10 minutes of the race are in the book. We have another 20 minutes of race action to come, and it's another 20 minutes that Thomas Loflat has got to resist the attack of Eric Prinot that is still right behind him. Also under pressure now is D'Amato. Let's go on board with Rick Lovett. It's Rick Lovett that is really, really pushing that day-glow orange car ahead of him of Renato D'Amato. So Rick Lovett for CoppaShell Racing, then also racing in the Gentleman's Cup. Just let you hear the engine note for a moment. Brakes screaming under pressure, and the sequential gearbox being used to full effect by Rick Lovett there in his quest to chase down the car of D'Amato ahead of him. So car number 102, which was involved in that collision, which was Schiavone, is going to be has got to report to the stewards at the end of the meeting, and hardly surprised by that, to be honest. Because that was
clearly a driver error.
It was a daredevil move. And talking of driver errors, yesterday we saw, I think it was Corinna Gosner, seemingly lump into the back of Holger Harmsen, and should make clear that having spoken to Holger, it was Holger had braked a bit early. Corinna was using her normal braking point, and therefore the two came together, and certainly no intent on that, and Holger was the first to put his hands up and say no, it certainly wasn't meant to be, it was probably my fault. Right, here comes Lovett then on D'Amato squirming under braking. Rick Lovett much smoother. Of course, what Rick is doing now is he's getting into this fight with Renato D'Amato. D'Amato begins to be just a little bit slower because he's having to defend. That also plays into the hands of von Skeltermar, who's chasing Rick Lovett, because until Rick can get past, then he could fall into the clutches of von Skeltermar behind him. So going to be interesting to see how this pans out.
Absolutely. So we're 13 minutes nearly into the race, and taking an awful lot of rumble strips there. That must slow them down quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it does, and it also jars the fillings in your teeth, that's for sure. There is Manuela Gostner then. Manuela Gostner and Corinna Gostner and Deborah Mayer all racing in the Ladies' Cup, and the best of those so far is that very car that is in the centre of your screen right now, the 183 car of Manuela Gostner. And she's running in the race at the moment in P9 overall, and is leading in the Ladies' Cup race, which is being competed for by Manuela Gostner, also by Deborah Mayer and Manuela's sister Corinna Gostner also. Right behind Manuela is Wayne Mars, the UK racer, who's into the Ferrari Challenge for the first time this year. A very welcome addition to the pack is Wayne Mars, who a very creditable 6th place finish in yesterday's race. He's currently running in P10 at the moment. Quite hook it up perhaps in qualifying the way that he would hoped, but great debut from Wayne Mars. Very welcome addition to the European Challenge. There is Corinna Gostner, another one of the racers that's in the Ladies' Cup, and well, Eric Prinot getting ever so close to Thomas Loflad then. A little bit of damage, I note, to the front corner of the Eric Prinot car.
Not quite sure whether I saw something tumbling off onto the track on that chicane.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I caught something from the corner of my eye as well. And Prinot and Loflad very, I thought that Prinot had done enough to get his nose up the inside there. Clearly he hadn't quite done enough. Now this might be where the contact came.
Yep. A slight nudge, and then the damage there on the front corner.
Yes. Well, in fairness, Loflad really had no alternative than to take evasive action and not make the chicane to keep himself on the track, really. So no advantage gained or lost there by either of the drivers. Just a bit of damage to the front of the Prinot car, but the rest of the car looks to be okay. So the battle for first position is between Thomas Loflad and Eric Prinot at the moment. We're live on the air with the Ferrari Challenge CoppaShell race here from Monza. And we're on board with Eric Prinot, the Ineco MP racing driver. So Prinot then in P2 at the moment, as once again he has a go on Thomas Loflad. Forgive us, but Harry Mary, the cleaner, was in just as we were on the air. Hardly expected. Right, the live gap. Let's bring it to you right now. Here it comes. It's just under 5/10, 0.495, as you can see. Thomas Loflad doing his best to keep his car in that P1 position, and doing a good job of it thus far. It's all down to Eric Prinot, and 280 kilometers per hour through the speed trap for Thomas Loflad. Phenomenal speed from these 4,400cc cars. The challenge on Renato D'Amato from Rick Lovett has gone away just for a moment as well. And what you find, Dave, is that with these cars, you can maintain that pressure for maybe a couple of laps of keeping the pressure on, and then you just have to ease off a bit and get the car into less dirty air, and also get yourself back into thinking mode again, rather than just really going all-out attack, and sometimes it just pays to ease off for a moment. What you can't do, though, and Eric Prinot is in this awful position where he knows that if he lets off too much and just gives himself a bit of breathing space before mounting another attack,
he's got somebody behind him.
He's got D'Amato who's going to say, thanks very much, I'm going to take some of that. So it's very, very difficult to call. We're on board with Rick Lovett, then the CoppaShell driver who's running in P4. Now, he too was one of those that just a couple of laps ago was really, really attacking Renato D'Amato. He's had a go, hasn't paid off. He's just biding his time a little bit now, but like yesterday, you can see how quickly the time goes. We've got just 13 minutes of this race left to go. Over half of the race is done and dusted already. So there is Rick Lovett then, the driver that we were talking about there. He's running in P4. He'd love to be back on the podium again here at Monza, take a double bubble podium weekend away back to Canada. He would love that. And, well, he certainly ain't given up. Prinot P2, the pit board says, and Prinot's more than well aware of that and would like to change that into P1. I'm not going to risk another DNF to do so. I wouldn't have thought. He'll be cleverer than that, but he's right on the back once again of Thomas Loflad. But 280 kilometers per hour now, the top speed through the speed trap for Thomas Loflad. And exactly the same for Eric Prinot. So pace is identical. Gap is, well, Loflad has taken another 10th back. It's 0.520 now. Cars once again squirming under braking, and I think Rick Lovett is about to mount another attack on Renato D'Amato here for P3. We'll keep an eye on that for you, but these two are certainly so very close. And we're looking back from the Eric Prinot car now, which is running in P2, to that car of Renato D'Amato that finished so well yesterday. Renato D'Amato then finishing in P4. He's one place up on the game from yesterday at the moment today, because he's running in P3. And again, he's just gapped Rick Lovett a bit behind him. Thomas Loflad is just not able to break away, seemingly, from Eric Prinot. And
those top 5 cars, actually, are all performing very well, very closely as well. It can only take the slightest mistake and the whole top 5 will change.
Well, very interestingly, just looking at the lap times, the last completed lap, it was a 1:54.725 as Eric Prinot takes a look up the inside of Thomas Loflad. Fastest man was Rick Lovett in P4, taking a 1:54.725. The others were all 1:54.9s. So Lovett is quick, but I suspect the lap times now as they cross the timing line. Yeah, you see Lovett has gone down now. He's a 1:55.7, whereas all the others are in the 1:54s. So Prinot again, the car skittish under braking.
Having another look.
And this is where he has to look. It's around the chicane areas, and for my money, Loflad is driving a cleaner line now. Seems to be more poised. What happens with the Pirelli tyres that they run is that the tyres are optimum for the first few laps, then they plateau out and they stay there until the end of the race. They don't kind of drop off a cliff, as it were. So I think Loflad and Prinot have both taken a similar amount out of their tyres, really. Perhaps a bit more for Eric Prinot, because he's been a little bit more aggressive, because he's been trying to find a way past, and thus far he's certainly failed, and now he's gapped back a little bit too. So there they all come through past that camera position. Here comes the live gap, and yes, Thomas Loflad has taken another couple of 3/10ths away. All the social media on screen for you. If you'd like to find out more about the Ferrari Challenge, you're always welcome to check us out on social media, and Facebook especially. It's facebook.com/Ferrari. There it is in graphics for you, as Prinot now turns the wick back up and puts Thomas Loflad under a bit more pressure.
But as you said yesterday, they're not really driving from the mirror. He's just going for it as much as he can.
Loflad cannot afford to look in his rearview mirrors, because if he does, that's the moment he'll miss a braking point, or he'll just not quite kiss the apex. And there you can see the difference between the lap times, well, it's 2/10 between them. No, you can't ever, and it was interesting in a conversation I was having with someone yesterday about using the rear view mirrors. You know, you just can't do it. You know that, you know he's there, and you know he's waiting to pounce. The moment you start trying to drive so defensively that you're driving through those rear view mirrors, drivers tell me, that's it, you may as well give the place up. You've got to focus on what you're doing and concentrate on what you're doing.
And of course he's in that great position where he's got open track in front of him, so he can...
Absolutely. Rookie team is Scuderia Nicky. Rookie driver Deborah Mayer, running in P17 at the moment. She was on the podium as the ladies race winner yesterday. And in fairness, Deborah's competition towards the end of the race wasn't great on account of the fact that both Corinna and Manuela Gosner, her two competitors in the Ladies' Cup, were out of the race. But nonetheless, it's great to see Deborah Mayer racing here, the French lady. And she's running in P17 at the moment, just ahead of Kondakov. And there is another lady racer, Corinna Gosner, who's running in P15. So Corinna Gosner, who normally has the pink front end to the car, but given that the front end of the car made contact with the rear end of Holger Hansen's yesterday, the front end is now black, and Holger Hansen's rear end is yellow. It's grey rather than yellow. So that's why the slightly different colour schemes on those two cars, because they had it coming together yesterday. And completely innocent.
And of course she also had a pink bonnet as well, which I think is slightly bit in the dust too.
Yes, you might be right. You might be right. So there is Corinna Gosner then. Great to see her back in the Ferrari Challenge. She had a sporting injury last year, not brought about from motor racing, and had an operation. I was talking to her husband yesterday, had an operation back in, I think it was November or December. Came through the operation absolutely fine, and she's fighting fit and racing fit, and that's great to see.
Yeah, because of course this takes it out of you physically, doesn't it?
Doesn't it just? Doesn't it just? You're absolutely right. And there is Holger Hansen, the car with which she made contact yesterday, and Holger Hansen is running in P11 at the moment. Wayne Mars is ahead of him in P10. And here is Holger Hansen with Eric Chung. And that was a good overtake from Holger Hansen there, and you see how he was able to make the overtake stick and not lose out in the corner as well, or in the chicane as well. We've only got 6 minutes of this race left. Again, where has the blooming race gone? Well, Eric Prinot will feel now, I reckon, that he's going to just bank second place. He's pushed and tried very, very hard. He's kept on terms with Thomas Loflad, but I can't see him finding a way to overtake him unless Loflad makes a mistake. And I have to say, from yesterday's dominant performance from Thomas Loflad, I can't see him making a mistake.
No, I was just thinking that myself, actually. He's been absolutely spot on the money all the way around through this second race. And there he is, right down the centre of the circuit, still on the race line, and still plenty of opportunities left for P2.
Yeah, just thinking, you know, there's me saying I don't think Eric is going to have another go. Just seems to be a bit closer now to Thomas Loflad. Now, got to keep it within the white lines, Eric, you know that, but perhaps he is going to line him up for a last lunge. And, well, you can see there, Prinot was quicker by some 4/10 last time around, so not for the first time, I might be wrong here, and Prinot might be going for it.
But of course they've been here practicing and testing since Thursday, Friday. It's been quite a long weekend. Of course he wants P1.
Of course, every racing driver does. Manuela Gosner then, ladies lady racer, winning the Ladies' Cup race at the moment. There's Christiane Kinch going through, running in P8, and running in P9 is Manuela Gosner. There is Christian Kinch, the back-to-guard liveried car, new livery for 2016 for Christian Kinch, who really feels, had a good chat with him yesterday. He certainly didn't get the result he wanted yesterday through no fault of his own, and put him on the back foot, I think, if truth be told, for qualifying today. And he's running in P8, but really feels that he's stepped the game up, and he's really, really looking forward to the season this year, which is great. And expect good things from Christian Kinch to come during the course of the season. So Manuela Gosner then leading that ladies race, and running in P9 with Christian Kinch P8. And Wayne Mars, the UK racer, running in P10 with under 3.5 minutes left to go in this. The gap between Loflad and Prinot is 3.5 tenths. That's all. So maybe it ain't all over yet. Perhaps Prinot will still have a go. There's Tommy Lindroth and Tanny Hanna. There is Christian Kinch, then the driver that I was talking about, and Manuela Gosner. Around the Curva Parabolica for Manuela Gosner. And, well, the gap last time between P1 and P2 was 3.5 tenths, I think I said. It's up to 8.5 now, so what have we got? We've got this lap and one more, or so the remainder of this lap and one more, I would suggest, according to the clock. 30-minute race duration. Top speed for Manuela Gosner through the speed trap, 274 kilometers per hour from these 4,400cc mid-engined Berlinetta cars. And here's a super hyper slow-mo. The detail on these hyper slow-mo pictures of Eric Prinot and Thomas Loflad before, and now Renata D'Amato in the 152 machine, and Manuela Gosner in the 173 car, 183, beg your pardon. There you can see it. Detail is absolutely brilliant. The hyper slow-mo camera. So there you can see the clock to tick into under 2 minutes. So Thomas Loflad, the remainder of this lap plus one more.
I think I know what you
really?
were saying then.
Please translate on my behalf. It'll be a good result for the Stylev Squadra Corsa team that run Thomas Loflad. And, well, battle for first position is perhaps inappropriately titled because it hasn't been too much of a battle, truthfully. I think Loflad has had it all completely under control, and as he crosses the timing line now, taking quite a bit of curb, I predict that this will be the final lap. He's got one more lap to do. Indeed so. The graphic at the top of your screen confirms it. We're on to the final lap, and Rick Lovett is having a go now at Renata D'Amato. He's unhappy with P4. He wants to be back on the podium again. They are absolutely side by side. Kessel is going to be later on the brakes. No, he's not. D'Amato's later on the brakes. Rick Lovett's never going to be able to make that chicane. There's damage to the back end of the D'Amato car. That has cost Rick Lovett dearly because he's had to go the long way through that chicane. He hasn't lost another place, but there was no way he was going to be able to make that chicane safely. Let's see it again in replay. Look at them absolutely side by side, and D'Amato there and Lovett. Once Rick Lovett realised that D'Amato wasn't going to make the turn, there was no way he could turn into him.
And he's got damage on the back of the car, just like we had the...
Well, the D'Amato damage was caused by running across the gas, and Rick Lovett had to take evasive action, truthfully, to avoid running into D'Amato. So that was good, very, very good driving from Rick Lovett, where you saw him, he actually went to turn right, realised that D'Amato was not going to make the chicane, and therefore he had to go through all those obstacles as well. Think his P4 will be safe, but it has allowed von Skeltermar to get a little bit closer to him. Is Eric Prinot going to have a last lap lunge on Thomas Loflad to try and wrestle away that P1 position? I don't think he's close enough to be able to do so, even if he would like to. You can see there just how much further Rick Lovett is back now from the P3 car of D'Amato. D'Amato did well to get away with that, truthfully. So there is Thomas Loflad, our race leader. We're on the final lap here at Monza, and Loflad around the Parabolica now is heading for home and the checkered flag, and it is going to be win number 2 for Thomas Loflad. 2 out of 2 this weekend. Eric Prinot P2, Renata D'Amato P3, then it's Rick Lovett, von Skeltermar, Tanny Hanna, Tommy Lindroth, then it should be Christian Kinch and Manuela Gosner, and Wayne Mars will take P10. What a race. Well, the cars were all gapped to almost equally, and therefore, apart from Eric Prinot on Thomas Loflad, the battles were thin and far between, truthfully, but nonetheless, Still a great race to watch. Holger Hansen takes P11, Eric Chung takes P12. Who's it? Oh! And that's big damage for the 193 car of Al Hegyi from Ferrari Newport Beach. What happened to that car? We'll get a replay of that, I'm absolutely sure. Significant damage to the Hegyi car. There is Corinna Gosner.
Here we go. I think this is
now that's
the
on
damage.
It's the damaged panels from D'Amato that Hegyi is trying to avoid. He gets on the grass.
Whoa.
Oh, and that is so unfortunate. You're right, a big thump. And thanks very much to Franco for firing in that replay so quickly. So basically what he was trying to do was avoid the panel work that had come off the D'Amato car. In so doing, he just got a rear wheel on the grass. And that's enough to send the car sideways, isn't it?
And he's doing that at 150, 170.
There's the panel coming off,
yeah.
Look.
Now, that's not the fault of any...
Well, you could argue.
Yeah.
Because D'Amato went across the grass. It was going across the grass that pulled that panel off. Therefore, there would be an argument that if it had kept it on the tarmac, it wouldn't have come off. You could argue till the cows come home about all sorts of different things. I mean, it's a racing thing, isn't it? It happens. But, you know, you have to feel for Hegyi, who has got a very used Ferrari 458 now as a result.
Yeah, that was a shame. I did see that a few minutes beforehand, actually. I'm thinking, surely the guys around the track will be able to pull that away.
It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. You can't let a marshal out onto the... You know, you'd have to throw a safety car. And at this late stage of the race... you know, very difficult to call. Very difficult to call. And in fairness, it's only bodywork. In truth, what was Hegyi thinking? Hegyi was thinking, you know, if I run over that, I'm going to puncture a tyre, or I'm going to try and avoid it. In the event, actually, him trying to do the right thing proved to be the wrong thing, didn't it?
Sure.
For him, which is a shame.
Especially on the final lap, as you say, because it's just sort of so close to ending the weekend.
Thankfully, he's out of the car and he's okay, because that was a huge impact. In truth, we'll doubtless see that in replay again, but thankfully Al Hegyi, as I say, Ferrari of Newport Beach, he's out of the car, he's perfectly okay, it would appear. The marshals attending to him straight away, and there's Thomas Loflad with another P1.
He'll be happy with that.
He's had a great weekend, Dave, hasn't he?
Absolutely. There it is.
You knew how happy he was going to be, didn't you? And there's Eric Prenot, did everything he possibly could, and actually to bank P2 in comparison to the DNF of yesterday makes perfect sense, doesn't it, really? I mean, you've got to give it to him. He certainly tried, didn't he?
He certainly did, and he didn't give up all the way around for the whole 30 minutes, which for a gentleman driver is not bad at all, is it?
No. There's Renato D'Amato, who's going to take the third step on the podium. He takes P3. And there's Thomas Gosner, who wasn't able to race in that, congratulating his daughter Manuela, who's going to be up on the podium. They're a lovely family, to be fair. And Hans' device there being released so that Manuela can get out of the car. Fantastic stuff. And there's David Gosner, the Trofeo Pirelli racer, to congratulate her as well. Oh, she's chuffed to bits with that, and that's great. That's really great.
Do you know, that's one of the things that I'll take away from this weekend is the camaraderie with everybody on the pit lane outside of the racing.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, fantastic, isn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Here's a hyper slow-mo of Manuela Gosner then, who we've just seen celebrating. And we go back to her, and there's Eric Prenot. And Thomas Loflad there. Of course, all the drivers will be hustled up to the podium. And before we go to the podium, we'll take a look at the highlights of the last race for CoppaShell before we head to Mugello. Here come the highlights. As they headed towards the line then, Renato D'Amato and Eric Prenot absolutely side by side. Thomas Loflad had converted his P1 position in qualifying to P1 in the race. Absolutely remarkably, all cars getting through the first chicane with no problems at all. Great credit to all the drivers for so doing. We're on board with Rick Lovett, who was running in P4, but this was perhaps the best opportunity Eric Prinot had to get on terms with Thomas Loflad. Just wasn't able to carry enough power, carry enough speed around the Curva Grande to get on the power. This was a mistake from Thomas Loflad, but that was a big save from him, being able to put his car right in the way of Eric Prinot so that he protected that P1 position once again. That was Claudio Schiavone, which unfortunately took out that car of Baccarelli. Eric Prinot certainly wasn't going to give up until the checkered flag was out, and continued to push and push and push. And Prinot was sick of seeing that pit board which said P2. It wasn't through lack of trying, that's for sure. But Thomas Loflad, in fairness to him, had driven a good race, and all he was in focus of was the second checkered flag of the weekend, and he took that to take win number 2 for the Style F Squadra Corsa team. They were just as happy as the driver. So the crowd awaits the podium. And here is the classification then. Thomas Loflad takes the win from Eric Prinot, Renato D'Amato. Then it was Rick Lovett, Von Skelter, Martini Hanna, Tommy Lindroth, Christian Kinch, Manuela Gostner, and Wayne Mars, the top 10. And then we see the rest of the order there on page 2. So Wayne Mars then takes a P6 and a P10 out of his first racing weekend in the Ferrari Challenge. Should be congratulated for that. And stand by, we're going to head up to the podium now. From the left of our commentary position, we can see the podium being readied, and as we take super slow-mos of the top 3, Renata D'Amato, P3. P2 goes the way of the Ineco MP racing driver, Eric Prinot. And P1 then, 2 out of 2 for this race weekend, for Thomas Loflad in car number 151, the all-red machine. Well, red and black, if you like, from the Style F Squadra Corsa team. So Thomas Loflad, the winner once again. And drivers out on the podium right now. There goes Renato D'Amato on step number 3. Step number 2 goes Eric Prinot. Always delighted to be up on the podium is Eric Prinot. And here comes Thomas Loflad. He jumps for joy. He's absolutely thrilled. What a weekend he's had. 2 out of 2. Here come the Style F Squadra Corsa team as well. And Manuela Gostner then is going to be on the podium too, taking the ladies' win, and gets congratulated by Eric Prinot, Thomas Loflad, and also Renato D'Amato. And national anthem time. Right, so the podium there, the flags are raised, and Andrea Modena, the head of Ferrari EMEA after sales, then makes the trophy presentation first of all to Renato D'Amato. And then it will be to Eric Prinot. He hasn't got a mantelpiece at home, it's a steel RSJ, truthfully, for the amount of trophies that he has. And there is Thomas Loflad, who takes the second of the weekend, which says #1 on. Team trophy to Style F Squadra Corsa. Eric Prinot takes the gentleman's win as well for being over 55. Not going to embarrass him by saying how much. And here comes Manuela Gosner's ladies' trophy, and suspect that'll be one of many this season.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's her sister Corinna and also Thomas Gosner there offering congratulations. We take a look at the other lady racer, Deborah Mayer, in car number 108, who, of course, is a rookie.
And she's also got some silverware from yesterday.
Absolutely. She was on that podium place yesterday. All these lady racers all racing for the first time in my knowledge in the Ferrari Challenge that we've had a separate cut for the ladies, which is nice.
But they weren't, I mean, nobody could call them sloth, could they?
No, they couldn't.
I mean, they were sort of up there, 174.
Thank you so much.
174 kilometres an hour is not a sloth.
No, it isn't. There is Corinna Gosner. And I said yesterday that Manuela Gosner really, really impressed me at Le Castellet circuit last year. And I think is going to be very much one to watch. Forget the Ladies' Cup. She's very, very capable of taking a podium, race pace outright. And we'll see if during the course of this season that it happens. So photographs being taken on the podium as we take some beauty shots now. Let's look at the Drivers' Championship. 45 points. Look at this. Going into the next round in Mugello, look at the advantage that Thomas Loflad has. Von Skeltermeyer is on 24. And look, P2, Eric Prinot, is only now in 5th place in the championship. The reason for that is that DNF yesterday. A DNF really, really hurts, doesn't it? It's the, well,
it wipes out anything. You can't even get 1 point.
Consistency is so important during the course of a racing season, being there or thereabouts all the time. The points really, really do matter, and Eric Prinot will rue the fact that yesterday he had a DNF, and the irony was he had a DNF courtesy of his teammate.
It wasn't his fault again.
No.
It wasn't his fault. And it seems to be that way inclined, doesn't it? It seems to be whoever's sort of instigating it really can get off with it.
Yes, sometimes. Hey, it's the story of motor racing sometimes, isn't it? So there we have it as we take some more shots then of the cars that we've been enjoying. Thomas Loflad in car number 151. He got away with this, didn't he? If Eric Prinot had been in just a slightly different place, he might have been able to take advantage of that. But he wasn't, and therefore Thomas Loflad was able to continue on and take that win. Quite a lot of cars taking quite a lot of curb. And
I've noticed that all the way through the last 30 minutes, and they're taking an awful lot out of those corners.
They wring the necks out of these cars, don't they? Give them absolutely everything, and there's something to be said for the durability of a Ferrari 458. It's able to take the punishment, that's for sure. Loflad, Prinot, D'Amato, then the 1, 2, 3 in this CoppaShell race. So where are we off to next? Well, let me tell you, it is Mugello on the 30th of April and the 1st of May. Then we go to the Le Mans circuit, support the Le Mans 24-hour race. We'll be racing there on the 19th of June. Then it's off to Russia around the Winter Olympics park at Sochi, 30th, 31st of July. Hockenheim in Germany, 10th and 11th of September. Jerez de la Frontera, 8th and 9th of October. And then it's off to Daytona in USA, the first weekend of December for the grand finale, the Finale Mondiale. And not a bad location to be in.
In December, what's the weather like there, then?
It's going to be nicer than in the UK, isn't it? I was so concerned, actually. I said at the Finale Mondiale last year, or actually it was one round before that when they were talking about the location for the Finale Mondiale 2016, I said we're going to surprise everyone and say it's Snetterton. There we are, next event, Mugello, the 29th of April and 1st of May. Mugello, just down the road from here in Monza. Please make sure you join us for that, and do check it all out at races.ferrari.com. On behalf of Dave King and myself, thank you so much for being part of the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. We'll see you in Mugello in just a few weeks' time. Bye-bye for now.